everybody. This is probably my 7th attempt at this same video that I've been promising you guys for over a week now, so apologies. We'll see how this one goes. You guys already should have gotten this attachment here. It's a Word document that has some MLA set up on it. It should also have what your a list of what your proposal should have. It should have another page that has more resources excuse me, from our textbook for the proposal and bibliography, and then at the very end it has a couple more tips in terms of last minute reminders, like making sure your citations on your annotated bibliography are in alphabetical order. So I did this video the other night. It was 20 minutes long, and the whole time I was recording the wrong screen. So that's what happened with this most recent attempt. Hopefully this is capturing the right page, and if not, you guys can use this narration maybe. You have this document already, you have some emails, you have some extra YouTube videos linked on Canvas that are on research proposals. And then we also, in just 2 hours, have a Zoom meeting today that it will be live. We'll see how that goes. That's my first time doing that. But I'll be able to answer questions that many of you guys probably still have in common, and I will be catching up on emails all day after that and grading. So I am here working very hard every day to figure out how to best accommodate everyone, to make sure that we're all on the same page. And oh, sorry about that, if you could hear that noise. And I am making sure that we know what we're doing the next couple weeks. So all of that stuff will be uploaded and done today. So just to briefly go over what is on this document. For your MLA format, I have it in double space. If you've forgotten, you can make your document double spaced by going to paragraph, hitting double under the section line spacing, and click don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. Also want to check your margins. So if you go into layout, the very first icon says margins. Click that arrow. Make sure each margin is 1 inch. Also, you want to make sure you have your last name and page number in the top right hand corner, and you do that by hitting insert, page number, top of page, right hand corner. Make sure that the last name and page number is in Times New Roman size 12. In terms of your titles, you can do, and before your proposal, put the word proposal and then give us a little bit of an introduction to your topic, as specific as you can make it at this point in the research process. So for example, this one's going to be why U.S. veterans need more psychological support when they return home. And then further down, when you have your annotated bibliography, we already kind of talked about titles for those, but a similar thing. You can put annotated bibliography, let's see, sources for my project on how to best serve combat veterans, something like that. What else? MLA format, make sure you have your name, my name, the class, and then the date. Make sure the date is in the format day, month, and then year. Here briefly is an example of a student whose draft I saw, and they just did a really excellent job with the first few sentences of the proposal. So remember, a proposal is proposing something. You are proposing to me that you should continue with this research project. Typically, proposals might be to ask or persuade somebody else to support them in this project. That might be asking for funding. That might be asking a colleague or an expert to work with you or to supervise your project or sign off on it. If you are pitching or proposing something in a work environment, you are trying to persuade people that you have good ideas and an important topic or important research that needs to be taken seriously. A proposal might be persuading a publisher to publish you. So really, they're typically overviews. They're not very long. You might also sometimes hear proposals called a prospectus. That's something more that those of you who end up doing honors thesis work as undergraduates or thesis work as graduates. That's a term you might hear. And it's a very similar thing. A lot of times you will start by doing these things I've included over here on the second page, giving a brief, very brief background summary on your topic. You might also be saying, there is a gap in this research or in this field of study, and I intend to operate within that. So for example, I think the same student who did this introduction over here mentioned that there's not a lot of research on how veterans adjust back to civilian society and the prevalence of PTSD. So if you are operating within a topic or umbrella topic that doesn't have a lot of research in a particular angle or aspect, definitely good to mention that, because that's kind of upping that wow factor, and it's getting people even more interested in answering those so what and who cares questions, because you're saying this topic is not only important, but here's why, and here's why I need to do research on this, and with your support continue this project, because there's a gap in the literature, there's a gap in the scholarship on this, and I'm gonna fulfill that need in that conversation. I'm gonna take on that role, because remember, these are academic writing and research. You are still participating in a conversation, which is what our textbook is primarily arguing with the they say, I say, which we'll go over that maybe a little bit in a different video just to get a refresher. But in terms of your proposal, another thing, obviously include your working thesis or research question. And like the YouTube link videos mentioned, you might not always have very extremely specific plans yet at this stage, but go ahead and stake out your position. If you're working with a debate that's a little more like black and white, or pro and con sort of dichotomy, say, they say that, we'll use marijuana could have harmful side effects on young adults. I say, or then you introduce your argument. So, however, I say that it is more beneficial for young adults than other substances, or whatever your topic is. That's kind of how you're going to set it up within your proposal, and then soon enough within your outline for your actual research paper and your argument. Some of you may have less obvious arguments, and that's fine. So that's where you're going to say, for this project, I intend to demonstrate the importance of this, or I intend to illustrate why this topic needs more attention. So it may not necessarily always be, I argue that they're wrong and I'm right. It might not always be sticking to one side of a debate. It might just be saying this topic needs more attention. Answer some questions like, what is your motivation or inspiration for this research? What's the purpose? Why is this conversation and research topic important? Answer the so what and who cares questions. Also, another good one, think of stasis questions, which I believe I did mention in a couple classes. In case you missed it, we kind of have the so what and who cares. So now we're going to go on to the how. How are you conducting your research? What kinds of sources are you using? And these might be pretty easy questions to answer because you already have your annotated bibliography and you have the sources that, most of the sources that you're going to be using. So you might just introduce a foundational text that you're going to rely heavily on. You might just kind of in general say, I'm using primary and secondary sources. One source that I'm relying heavily on is a TED Talk. That's what this student, the example I used on the first page, that's what they did, and it worked very well. Another thing to think about with your proposal, imagine your audience is me and others that are participating in this conversation or are interested in this topic. So persuade me you should continue with this research and tell me why I should support it. So that might not say, you might not speak directly, explicitly to me, like Professor Petron, I should continue with this topic because it might be more implicit. So your, proposal, aka prospectus, this assignment that's attached to your annotated bibliography or kind of in conjunction with it, is primarily going to function to show me what research you've already done, what the topic is that you're interested in and persuade me to support it. And also, if I can read your proposals, this is a big important note that I think might have gotten glossed over, which is totally my fault. I need to read these proposals and be able to give you guys feedback. So if one of you is going down a path that I think might be too ambitious or too much for the scope of this assignment, I can say so, or I can give you guys comments that are relevant to going forward. That way you don't do a ton of work the next couple weeks just for it to sort of backfire when you get to those final stages, and for me to then tell you, hey, I don't think this topic's working, or this thing over here is working. Make sense? I hope so. Stop, dog. Sorry, my dog's barking. All right, and very quickly, more resources from our textbook. So these have those templates, and I sort of put where they are useful very specifically. So for the proposal, for the annotated bibliography, please, please, please use those, especially if you're totally stuck, totally in the dark. And I'll do the same thing for the next major assignments going forward. That way you know exactly what in the textbook you can turn to if you're having a hard time coming up with content. You need a template to sort of get you going. These are really useful for that. And then finally, annotated bibliography. Again, make sure your citations are in alphabetical order and your annotations are formatted properly underneath each citation. And your scholarly source annotations especially need to have page numbers within annotations. So you need to have here, so pretend I'm discussing a source. Smith discusses the importance of positive attitudes within the family system. I'm totally making that up. And then parentheses 14. So say it's on page number 14, and that is the page number from the original copy, meaning that's not when you first open up one of those sources. Usually you have to download the PDF to see the original page numbers, and sometimes they'll be 14, sometimes they'll be 1455, because some of those scholarly journals are very, very long. So yeah, please keep that in mind. Very, very important, especially when you're dealing with direct quotes. All right, so I'm going to save this, send you guys hopefully this video that worked this time, and then I will see you guys on Zoom today, Friday at noon. If you missed today's, please email me. I'm still available for one-on-one conferences, and I'm more than happy to try and meet with you guys however we can, digitally, of course. And stay well, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks.